Hello there. Welcome to the mini masterclass for August. This is a compacted rendition or compacted lesson from everything we've worked on in the Insight and Impact Focus group for the entire month of August. So get a pen, get a paper, be ready to take some notes. And just so you know what you're about to be leaning into and listening to, right? Like we're working a lot on self-compassion, giving ourselves grace, and leaning into full personal acceptance, right? On an emotional level. So I want you to come into this in that frame of mind of you are not, right? Your body is not a project. It's not something that needs to be fixed. Excuse me. So we're just gonna, we're gonna cut out all the fluff. And, if I'm being real honest, if you're watching this and you're here in my space and you're listening, you're probably already doing a lot of everything's quote unquote right. And you're still just not feeling like it's equating to enough. So, you identify as somebody that, checks all the boxes, you show up, you smile, even though you want to scream half the time, you're functioning, but you're just, you're just not feeling free. And I get it, I really do, because the work that I do here in this space with you, with my elite members, is not just the work I do with others, right? It's the work that I've done in my own life. I've walked this long journey long before I came into this space of helping others. So, we're all people that have been in or are in a silent war with ourselves. And oftentimes, it's been running in behind the scenes for a lot of years, right? So let me offer you this. I want you to think about this, right? Like, what if you don't need to be fixed? Right? What if that's not the issue for you? What if it's more that you've spent a lifetime cutting out the parts of you that never stopped trying to belong? And I guess if I rephrase that, what if you spent a lifetime covering up or holding back things that were perfectly fine just the way they were? You were just trying to, live up to some other thing, right? So again, it's that you're not a project that needs to be fixed, okay? So we're going to start with that inner narrative and working on rewriting it. And I'm trying to follow along on some notes. So for those of you that are listening and you engage with me weekly, you know that this week has been an interesting one with Starlink Internet. And I had already previously recorded this once, and that file got corrupt in the volume. So anyway, so here we go, right? So we're going to start rewriting that inner narrative. And we're going to start with the voice inside your head, the one that's always saying to you that you should be further along by now, the one that has a lot to chime in with when you mess up with, hey, you're always screwing things up, right? So that voice, right? It's not your intuition, and it's certainly not your higher self. In fact, I liken it more to a greatest hits album of everything you were ever criticized for and never questioned, right? It's more of an inner bully, I guess, if you will, that's been all dressed up in what we're calling a personal growth strategy. So if I was to give you a quick story, I remember, I thought of this earlier, right? Like I remember a day, right? I was brushing my teeth and I realized, you know what? You haven't said a whole lot of kind things to yourself in days. And I was out there, and I was working with people, and we had good momentum going, and I had all my clients around, and I was training a group of folks, and doing the things that run the business. But internally, this is what it sounded like, right? Like it sounded like I was narrating my life like a totally burned out sitcom that has, those ones with the toxic laugh track in the back. So anyway, it's just interesting when you realize like, oh, whoa, wait a minute. Like I haven't said a kind thing to myself in days. Doesn't mean I was beating myself up. Don't get me wrong, but it's like, wow. So, I want to prompt you to start catching those thoughts, right? Catch those thoughts and ask like, hey, would you say this to someone you love? And if the answer is no, then you got to rewrite it. And you got to rewrite it right then. Like, whoa, that sounds ugly in here. It doesn't feel good here. And right, like it's killing my gut. And I would never say that to somebody else. So I'm gonna rewrite that. How would I prefer for this to sound? Now, compassion isn't fluff, right? Like everybody's like, oh, I have to write like some pretty little mantra. And that's not the case, right? Like compassion isn't cute and fluffy, it's fuel. So here you go. And I want you to write this down. I want you to give your internal voice a persona, or for maybe a more mainstream word, give it a nickname. Give it a nickname that reflects its function. And so, if your inner critic sounds like the Little League coach from hell, name it that. Like, oh, the Little League coach from hell is here, right? Or maybe there's, an inner voice that you could name the hustler or the critic in Chanel. So, there's some examples, right? Give it a persona, give it a nickname, give it something that entertains you. and then answer, like, what is this voice trying to protect me from? And do I still need this kind of protection at all? Now, I strongly suggest you, push pause, or something, come back, make yourself a note, but journal about this, discuss it, hop in one of the discussion groups on the platform, start chat about it, have a conversation. We're all here doing the same work. We may be in different groups and functions, but we're all here doing the same work, right? So now you got to rewrite these dialogues with compassion. But that could look more like emotional grace in real life. Okay, so what do I mean by emotional grace? I'm not talking about, the churchy kind, although that kind of grace is wonderful. And I'm not, talking about take a drink of water and sit down and journal kind of grace, although I did just prompt you to journal and get into a discussion. But what I'm talking about when I'm talking about emotional grace is the real-time emotional grace that says, you know what? Yep, that shit just happened. But I can move forward without emotionally self-harming. Now, most of us, right? We weren't taught to give ourselves that kind of, slack, grace, right? We weren't taught to say, yep, that happened. And I can keep going forward without beating myself up. Most of us weren't taught that. And high achievers, right? People pleasing perfectionists, all of us out there, right? We were taught that progress is the type of punishment that creates the momentum. And change requires shame. Like, oh, I'm doing bad. I messed this up. I have to change. I have to punish myself and be better. Right? Like that. Like, what do I need to change or fix or correct about me? Instead of, I'm human, I err. So raise your hand, right? Like if you've ever said to yourself, I just need to be harder on myself. And then after getting harder on yourself, you got absolutely nowhere except for more emotionally exhausted and probably a whole lot more puffy-eyed from lack of sleep and maybe a lot of tears, right? That's not growth, my friend. That's an emotional Groundhog Day doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. Look, grace doesn't excuse the moment. It just refuses to make you bleed for it. Hear that? Grace doesn't excuse the moment. It just doesn't make you bleed for it. How beautiful. So let me give you a tool. I call it the stop, name, redirect sequence, right? Like, I don't know. I like to come up with quirky names, but anyway, it's a redirect sequence. So you stop, physically pause, interrupt your pattern. Like, no. Right? Like some of my clients and I back in the day, we used to just go, nope. And others were like, stop, right? Big stop sign visualization. But, just going, nope. That works. Anyway, so you go, nope, pattern interrupt. This is and you name it, right? Like this is the part of me that thinks if I stop, I'll lose value. I'll lose momentum. Something else negative, right? So name it. And then redirect it. I don't need to punish myself to improve. I can shift gently and keep going. Right here, right now, in this moment, going forward. Now think of that core non-physical feeling check-in. If you practice that regularly, it's going to happen in your brain automatically. So if you don't have that core daily practice from me, send me a message. I'd be happy to shoot it to you. But the core non-physical feeling check-in is something that you can do between walking out of the house and getting in your car to go somewhere before getting out of your car to go in somewhere. It can be done every hour. I do it in between every single session because I've gotten so good at it. It's automatic, 15 seconds, if that even, right? Or you can try this one out loud, right? You can say this to yourself. Even when I mess up or meltdown, I'm still allowed to be kind to myself. What happens in your body when you say that? Now you might have to try it a few times, but even when I mess up or melt down, I'm still allowed to be kind to myself. What a wonderful permission to give. Yeah. Now, I want you to take me seriously when I say what happens in your body when you do that, because it's really important that we can connect, that we know what's going on in our physical body in correlation with our emotional state of being and the behavioral state of being, right? Because there's a deeper space we need to go, right? And that requires us to go into the body. And I'm talking about the body that you've been negotiating with since you were old enough to feel objectified, judged, or even invisible. Picture this, right? Like we're all out there walking around treating our bodies like, I don't know, some PR campaign. And our identities, like we're not even going to take me down that rabbit hole. Most people that I meet aren't even close to being themselves. They're just really, really, really good versions of who they thought they needed to be to survive or thrive or fit in or right? Just survive. Think about that. Have you ever woke up and wondered how you became that emotional support adult for everyone else while leaving yourself like an unread email in your inbox? So I love that analogy. Anyway, I want to give you a guided reframe. Okay. And so we're going to start with this. Place your hand on a part of your body that you've judged, right? Your arms, belly, your thighs, whatever it is for you. But pick a part of your body that you judged. And I usually say, pick the part that you judged the most. And say to yourself, right, like this part is mine. It's not a project. This is a place that I get to live. Your body's taking you through a lot of things. It's still standing with you. I think of all of the things your body has carried you through. This isn't cheesy. Right? Survival. But sovereignty. Survival. Personal grace. Acceptance. Yeah. So let's dig into a blueprint. Again, I don't have time to go in as deep as I'd like. And so I'm going to give you a blueprint, right? Like I call it the identity distortion filter. And so if you will, right, make 4 columns. Okay. That first column, I want you to label the identity input. The second one, I want you to label it your distortion message. The third one, my emotional outcome. And the last one is a bigger space, right? I want you to leave a bigger space for that compassionate reframe. Okay. So where did my identity input come from? Was it childhood teasing, cultural standards, family roles? You can add infinite items, right, to your list, right? Like, and then your distortion message, right? The childhood teasing. the distortion message, the one you created out of from that external, right? That external input might have been, I'm too much. Your personal emotional outcome might have looked like shame. Now, your compassionate reframe, the one all filled with grace and love and acceptance, might sound like, you know what? I was visible. That made others uncomfortable. I don't need to shrink. For some of you, right, like you're overthinking that, made others uncomfortable. That's their feeling. That's their perception. It's their perspective. It's their emotional outcome. And they're actually being derailed by an external source, being you, whatever, but you don't need to do the same. And if you really don't get that concept, then we should certainly meet, because the locus of control and our internal drive versus our external drive is a wonderful space. It's where most of our effective emotional growth happens. So anyway, another identity input example would be the cultural standards. Right? Your distortion message might sound like, I'm not enough. I'm just not enough. And that emotional outcome for you has manifested into insecurity. So this compassionate reframe might sound like, you know what? I'm allowed to exist outside of trends or traditions or whatever, right? And family roles, for a lot of us, we slide right into that. I must be the strong one. I must be the strong one. And that emotional outcome is always suppression, personal emotional suppression. So we don't give ourselves the permission to crumble or to be soft, right? So that compassionate reframe might sound like, you know what? I get to be soft and strong. I get to choose my capacity. So ask yourself this, or answer this question, even better, right? just answer the question. What distortion are you still responding to? Who gave it to you? And do they still get to have a say? Nobody else gets a say in my life. I get the say. I choose. This is my life too. It gets to look, feel, be however I want it to. I get to choose. If I don't like it, I get to restructure it, reframe it, give it compassion, love, grace, acceptance, own it, trash it, whatever I want. And if it belongs to somebody else, I can leave it hanging out there. They can keep it. I don't have to let it penetrate my soul. And, I suppose we ought to round into the, wind down here. And I want this to be important, right? Because the integration of things is critical. And so we got to integrate the wholeness and bring every version of you back into the room. Not just the polished, pretty, shiny version. Not just the parent, not just the leader, not just the one that keeps it all together. I mean the part of you that feels too needy, right? Bring it in. The part that still flinches when somebody praises you. I want you to bring back the one you abandoned so people wouldn't think you were too much. Because guess what? You're not chaotic. You're complex. And you're not failing. we've just learned to become fragmented. And that wholeness isn't about having it all together. It's just about not leaving yourself behind anymore. Okay, so we're going to quit leaving pieces of us behind. It's okay if you say, you're, I don't know, in a new relationship or in a new group of friends, or it doesn't even matter, right? They could be your family. And, you get to say, you know what? I've really struggled for a long time with my attachment to pleasing everybody. And I'm just not going to do that anymore. But that person comes. So we're going to be, things are going to be changing, right? So let that sink in, right? Like, you're complex. You've become fragmented, or you've allowed yourself to become fragmented. And you've left a lot of pieces of you behind in the past. And now we're going to bring them all in. Yeah, we're going to bring them all in. That person that says, I have needs, wants, dreams, desires, and they all hold value, validity, and are worth being realized. Yeah. So let's declare some of this wholeness. And just, write down, you can write this down and fill in your blanks later, right? So here's the stance. From this day forward, I choose to stop abandoning, apologizing for, and compensating for. So fill in those blanks. What are you going to stop abandoning? What are you going to stop apologizing for? And what are you going to stop overcompensating for? And write those down. From this day forward, I choose to stop. And then finish that sentence, my friend, by creating, I don't know, a message for yourself, right? Like, wholeness feels like, to me, fill in the blank. When I live in wholeness, I give others permission to see all of whatever your blanks are. If you need a little help or guidance with this, absolutely reach out. You know how to find me. You can send me a message on the app, from the platform, on my cell phone, right? Like, I'm here to support you. You can also go to the Join Me tab and grab a one-on-one session, right? Anyway, so look, I want you to hear this, because if you've been trying to heal by hustling, right? Like, I gotta stay busy. It drives me crazy. I gotta stay busy. I have to keep correcting and getting better at, right? If you've been trying to fix yourself by fracturing, like, oh, this part of me is broken, I'm going to leave it behind. Or you've been trying to grow by grinding, like, I'm going to do all of these self-help things. I'm going to just keep doing them. The more I listen, it's going to set in, right? Let me offer you this, okay? Stop right here, right now. Just stop. Breathe. And return to you. Right? Like, you don't need to be the best version of you to be worthy of your own emotional peace. You just need to stop outsourcing your emotional safety to someone else's standards. Look, we're not on this planet to be digestible. We're here to be whole. So let's start there. Remember, if this hits, right? Let's connect. And 100% have a conversation with you, see where you're at, see what's working, see what needs adjusting, see whatever, right? Like, we can have a really good collaborative conversation and get you in that forward moving trajectory. Have an amazing, amazing month. I'll see you at the end of September. Bye now.